You know what I love about mornings? That moment when the world feels full of possibility, right before the chaos hits.
And there's that signature Alex optimism with a twist. Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark.
And I'm Alex, coming to you on this beautiful Wednesday, February 26th. You're listening to Blue Mountain Morning, where we turn the daily flood of news into something actually digestible.
Because sometimes we all need a little help finding clarity in the chaos.
Oh my God, Mark, you're so zen today. I need whatever tea you're drinking.
Just my usual chamomile, which you keep calling boring old person tea.
Hey, if it works, it works. Let's dive into today's story, shall we?
Let's start with a significant shift in White House press dynamics. The administration announced they'll be taking direct control of press access, something that's been managed by journalists themselves for over a century.
Wait, so they're basically becoming their own bouncers? That's wild.
Pretty much. And speaking of unprecedented moves, there's this new Gold Card initiative.
Oh my God, don't tell me. Is it literally gold? Because that would be so on brand.
It's essentially a premium version of the Green Card, targeting wealthy immigrants specifically, who would need to pay $5 million to become lawful permanent residents. But here's what's really catching attention. Government spending in the first month under the new administration has actually increased compared to last year.
Despite all the cost-cutting promises, that's interesting.
The Reuters analysis shows significant spending increases, even as the administration pushes for budget reductions.
Oh, and did you see about Zelenskyy? He's coming to the White House on Friday.
Yes, and it's quite significant. He's scheduled to sign a minerals deal. The announcement yesterday night followed days of tense negotiations between the U.S. and Ukraine, in which Zelenskyy alleged the U.S. was pressuring him to sign a deal worth more than $500 billion that would force 10 generations of Ukrainians to pay it back.
Big uff. I mean, timing is everything, right? Especially with that House spending bill that just squeaked through.
It was incredibly close. The Trump-backed bill passed by the narrowest of margins, which really shows how divided.
Divided is putting it mildly. I've seen less tension in a game of Jenga.
The interesting part is how this all connects. We're seeing a pattern of significant policy shifts happening almost simultaneously. Press access, immigration reform, spending measures.
It's like watching someone play political Tetris, but all the pieces are falling at once.
That's actually not a bad analogy, Alex.
It's really wild that all of this is happening in the same week, right?
Absolutely. You know what else is becoming impossible to ignore lately? The explosion of tipping prompts everywhere you turn.
Oh my God, yes! I bought a cookie yesterday, a single cookie, and the tablet spun around asking for a 25% tip for pressing a button.
It's fascinating how we've gone from traditional tipping in restaurants to what some are calling tipflation. We're seeing suggested tips at car washes, self-serve froyo places, even retail stores.
I literally got asked for a tip at a vending machine last week. A vending machine, Mark.
The data shows these digital payment systems have increased tipping requests by over 200% in the last year alone. But here's where it gets complicated. Workers are increasingly dependent on these tips because of stagnant wages.
But isn't that just pushing the problem onto customers? Like, shouldn't businesses just pay better wages?
That's exactly the tension point. The average American is dealing with inflation hitting their wallet from every direction, and now they're faced with moral pressure to tip for services that never required tipping before.
I feel like I'm being guilt-tripped by a tablet every time I buy anything. And those preset tip amounts, 18%, 20%, 25%, or custom, why is there never a no-tip button that doesn't make me feel like a monster?
The psychology behind those interfaces is intentional. Studies show people are more likely to tip when faced with preset options, especially in person when someone's watching them select an amount.
It's basically digital peer pressure.
Meanwhile, service workers report that tips make up anywhere from 20% to 60% of their total income. So while customers feel the squeeze, workers are actually becoming more dependent on this system.
But doesn't that just create this weird cycle? Workers need tips because wages are low, so more businesses add tipping, which makes customers spend more, which makes them less likely to support higher prices for better wages.
You've just described what economists call a feedback loop. And with inflation still hovering around 3%, both consumers and workers are caught in the middle.
So what's the breaking point? When do we collectively say enough to tip prompts for everything from oil changes to opening a door?
That's the million-dollar question, or should I say the 20% question. Some economists predict we're approaching a tipping point, if you'll pardon the pun, where consumer pushback could force a restructuring of how service workers are compensated.
Did you really just make a tipping pun during a serious economic discussion? Mark!
I couldn't resist. But on a serious note, this issue reflects bigger questions about fair wages, consumer psychology, and how technology is changing our social contracts.
You know, all this talk about tipping and social pressure reminds me of something my grandmother used to say. Generosity shouldn't come from guilt, but from grace.
That's actually quite profound, Alex. When we're caught up in these daily tensions around money and social expectations, sometimes we forget the simple truth that genuine kindness flows naturally.
Yeah, like maybe instead of stressing about every payment prompt, we could focus on making meaningful connections with the people actually serving us.
Exactly. Small moments of authentic appreciation can be worth more than all the automated tip requests in the world. You know, watching the sunrise this morning, I noticed how the light doesn't rush to fill the sky. It takes its time, painting each cloud with patience and purpose.
Just like we should approach our own day, right?
Exactly. Sometimes the most powerful changes happen not in sudden bursts, but in those gentle, patient moments when we allow ourselves to simply be present. And just like that morning light we talked about, we've reached the end of another Blue Mountain morning. Thanks for sharing this peaceful moment with us.
Hey, if you enjoyed starting your day with us, why not make it a daily thing? Hit that subscribe button wherever you get your podcasts.
And if you found some clarity in today's show, share that piece with someone else. Maybe forward it to a friend who could use a calming start to their day.
We'll be back tomorrow morning with more insights and that same unshakable calm. Until then,
Keep climbing that mountain, friends.